There's been this theme that's come up pretty frequently lately, and that is being strong and courageous, not being afraid, and letting God fight for me. These have come up in my own Bible time and in messages that I've read in blogs and heard in sermons. The journal that I just started just happens to be one I got a long time ago. The cover of it says, "Be strong and courageous." Not only that, but there's been this theme of fear, like I said, and sometimes it takes me a little while to realize that it was fear that I was dealing with. But I bring all this out because I think God's trying to get something across to me, but I also think that I believe that that's what He wants me to talk to you about today. What's up, y'all? I'm Rachel Elizabeth, and you're watching Real Talk with Rach, where we talk about things that are beneath the surface. So we're not just having some small talk here, we're digging in and having some intimate conversations, because I believe that it's not until you face the hard things and really dig through them and talk about them with someone that you actually start to grow and move past them and mature and really benefit from them. This is part of the process of progressing towards fitness in every aspect of life, which is what Cause Fitness is all about. So this week, like I said, fear has come up a lot in different situations and circumstances. For example, I have been afraid of silly things, that I'm not normally afraid of. And I'm realizing right now that it is really hard to admit my fears. Saying them on camera, I'm even afraid of saying them on camera. I'm afraid of admitting my fears. Wow, guess we're all learning something today. But I'm afraid that I'm gonna be left with nothing, that somehow God will stop providing for me. I'm afraid that in the ways He does provide for me, like the jobs I have, are somehow gonna fall apart because of my own physical limitations. I do sports modeling for one of my sources of income, and I booked this really awesome job this week, which I'm sure I'll Instagram or vlog about. But I booked this job, and then suddenly I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to perform for this job. And it's a running job, and my Achilles tendons, the back of my ankles, have been bothering me, and I've had to stretch and foam roll every single day. And there's this fear that I won't be able to perform and somehow they'll let me go or fire me. And the truth is, that's pretty irrational because I can move. But even if it does happen, God is still God, and He always provides. The other fear has to do with the same thing. So this job I booked, right? It's a pretty big deal to me, and it involves traveling, and I had this opportunity to do something social with some new friends this last Friday. I went cliff jumping. I love cliff jumping. I love adrenaline sports. I'm a total adrenaline junkie, but I haven't done it for a long time, and I'd never hung out with this group of people before. And so I had all these fears come up, and I shared that with my roommate and another friend of mine, and they convinced me to go because I needed to face my fears. I was like, yeah, you're right. I need to face my fear, and there's absolutely nothing that's gonna go wrong. So I went, and the second jump of the day, I hit a rock under the water, and I busted up my left shin. And suddenly I saw all of my fears coming to life, supposedly. It's what I thought. And in the same way, I feared that this would affect my work, and it very well might. But on the other hand, I have to remember another thing, another truth about the God I serve, and that is that He is healer, He is provider, and He is perfect love. And the Bible says that perfect love casts out all fear. So that's where I'm gonna land. Fear is not of God. God is love, perfect love. Love casts out fear. They cannot exist in the same place. So anytime that we're afraid of something, it'll immediately evaporate the second we remember and trust in who God is and the promises He's given us, that He will never leave us or forsake us, that He has good plans for our future. Fear is all around us. It's pretty much unavoidable unless you're an absolute saint and you have absolutely no proclivity towards not trusting God. But if you're normal like I am, you're gonna struggle with fear from time to time. And it doesn't matter what kind of fear it is. If it's fear, it's fear. And simply put, fear is not trusting God. Now, it is difficult to trust God, especially if you've never trusted God before, and that is a process and a journey, and He's walking beside you, leading you in that, and He will draw you closer to Him and teach you how to trust Him. So you don't even have to fear that. He's going to teach you how to trust Him. You've got to believe that He's going to do it. And you have to know who God is. God isn't just some character up in the sky who just throws out blessings and curses. God isn't sitting up in the clouds with a bunch of cherub angels with harps. And God isn't just a good father. He's holy. He's powerful. He's perfect. There's a book that I read. I actually did this Bible study with my mom. It's called None Like Him by Jen Wilkin. And every chapter goes over a different attribute of God. And I just want to read you, if I can. Can I do this? Okay. I'm going to read you the table of contents and explain a little bit to you what each of these mean, because I think it is such a great way for you to understand a little bit more of who God is. Chapter 1, God is infinite, and it's about the God of no limits. And I want you to think about each one of these as I read them. Even pause this video and just meditate on that. Chapter 2, God is incomprehensible. It's about the God of infinite mystery. We could never know Him completely, and yet He knows us completely. Chapter 3, God is self-existent. He's the God of infinite creativity. He's the source of everything, but He has no source. Let that bake your noodle. Chapter 4, He's self-sufficient. He's the God of infinite provision. He provides infinitely, and yet He needs nothing. Chapter 5, God is eternal. He's inside of time and outside of time. He's the God of infinite days. He had no beginning and no end. He's God. It's unbelievable. Chapter 6, God is immutable, which means He's not movable. He doesn't change. He's the God of infinite sameness, which is so good because that also means that He is consistent. So if He kept His promise to you once, He will always keep His promise to you. If He was good to you once, He will always be good to you. And the promises in the Bible of what God promised somebody centuries ago still holds true for me and you, which is why the Bible is so incredible. And honestly, that's why I read it every single day and why you should read your Bible every day, because we need to be reminded. Side note, fear is actually the act of forgetting who God is. We need to constantly remind ourselves. That's why we have to get in His Word daily to learn more about who He is and what His promises are. Because if God never changes, if He's truly immutable, then His promises were the same yesterday and today, and they will be the same tomorrow and for 1,000,000 years beyond. Chapter 7, God is omnipresent. He's the God of infinite place, which means He is in all places at the same time, wholly in each place. And I don't mean holy as in H-O-L-Y, I mean W-H, holy. He is in every place. He is present in every place, but He's present in every place at the same time. So He can be completely present for you and the God of all comfort and presence when you're going through your worst day, and also completely present, comforting me with His presence and peace at the same time. It's something our minds cannot even begin to comprehend, but that's why He's God and we're not. Chapter 8, He's omniscient. He's the God of infinite knowledge. There is no new information under the sun, no matter what comes out in this crazy information age. God already knew it. He already knows what's going to happen tomorrow and 30 years from now and 300 years from now. He knows before we ever know. He knows before science knows, because He created science. He knows everything. He knows everything that ever will be, everything that it's ever been. He knows you. He knows everything you've ever done. He knows everything you ever will do. He knows everything you think, everything you thought, everything you will think. And yet, He loves you unconditionally. There's nothing that He knows already that will keep Him from loving you. Nothing. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. Chapter 9, God is omnipotent, which means he is the God of infinite power. Literally, he can do anything at any moment. There is nothing that is impossible for God. Nothing is impossible for God. That is mind-blowing in itself. In chapter 10, God is sovereign. God is the God of infinite rule. That means that even though we might think or believe that we are in control of our lives, we're not. God is. And he allows free will so that we have to face the consequences of our choices that he already knew we were going to make, that he loves us anyway, despite. And yet he is ultimately in control, that our lives are not our own, but that he loves us and wants the best for us, and wants us to trust him, and wants us to know him, which is why he made himself known in Jesus. He gave us a way to know him through Jesus. And by his Spirit, we can know him because he is in us. And he works out his love to other people through us, all because he is love and he wants relationship with us. All right, guys, there is not much else I want to say except that there's a verse that says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And the fear of God isn't something to be afraid of. It's just simply understanding God and who he truly is and being in complete awe of him. That each of those attributes that I listed, every one of those chapters of this book and this video was not endorsed by this book, but I love it so much, so I'll tell you about it. It's this None Like Him by Jen Wilkin. If you're interested in checking it out, I will link it below. But the fear of the Lord is understanding all these attributes to the point where it creates this awe and wonder and worship in us. By understanding more, and even this book, reading this book actually helped me a lot with this concept, because learning who God is creates this deep desire to just love him and worship him and give him glory because he's amazing. But guys, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom is understanding God and who he is, because he is the source of wisdom. And that's all I'm going to say. I hope you guys have an incredible week. I hope that you're able to stand up against fear, proclaiming God's promises and truth over your life this week. If you guys have any questions or prayer requests, I'm here for you. You can leave them in the comments below, or hit me up on social media, or you can email me at info@causefitness.com. Thank you so much to my Patreon subscribers. You guys make this possible. I could not be more grateful for you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I love you and I'm praying for you, and I'll see you next week. Bye. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I want you to tell me in the comments below where in the world you would go right now if you could go anywhere and money is not an object. Leave it in the comments below, and I will see you next week.